I'm here with Chuck Matthews, U.S. Air Force veteran, and we're here in the Veterans Corner at Wings over Camarillo in 2025. So I was told I need to talk to you, Chuck. Tom Anderson told me, talk to Chuck, because he's the one you want to talk to. So now we're talking, and I'm going to let you go down here and talk to me about your history in the Air Force, sir.
Okay, very good. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Chuck Matthews from Wings Over Wendy's. We're doing a presentation here at the Wings Over Camarillo Air Show, and they want me to tell my life story vis-a-vis the birth of the B-52. So we'll start from here. I joined the Air Force in Chicago, Illinois, January of 1952. From there, I went to Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, indoctrination, and then basic training at Wichita Falls, Texas, Shepherd Air Force Base. From there, they gave me a battery of tests, as I do with every enlistee, to find out what you can do or what you can't do, basically. I scored fairly high on all the major tests, intelligence, whatever. When it came down to food service, I didn't do too well because I told them I didn't know how to boil water. So, but they found out I had trigonometry experience in high school, education in trigonometry and geometry. So instead of being sent to an air crew on the B-36 like I wanted to be, they says, no, we're going to send you to the engineer school in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. What am I going to do at Fort Belvoir, Virginia? We're going to teach you how to be a construction surveyor. Construction surveyor? I said, well, yes, we need surveyors to rebuild the air bases that were laying dormant during the area between World War II and the Korean War. All the air bases kind of lay dormant, and some were in pretty bad shape, especially the one in Spokane, Fairchild Air Force Base. So I was supposed to be sent to some air base after a graduation from the engineer school in Fort Belvoir. So after graduation day came, and there was a graduation class of 20. 20 of us were airmen. They put us in the C-47, flew us down to an air base in the middle of a cornfield called Scott Air Force Base. They said, what are we doing here? It's middle of nowhere, East St. Louis. Well, there's a building called the Crypto School where people were learning how to make codes, break codes, send codes, and they were transitioning from German and Japanese during World War II days to what? Korean, Chinese, and Russian.
Yeah, okay.
Especially like they're doing today. So this is a top secret facility that had to be protected by military police 24/7. Most of the regular air policemen were either in Japan or Korea on duty over there, so they sent a bunch of surveyors out to be air policemen at Scott Air Force Base. They gave us maybe a 2-day range familiarization course, so you learn how to shoot a .45, a M1, a sawed-off shotgun, a burp gun, anything that you needed to protect that facility. So I was given a military 1911 .45 pistol. It was about as long as my thigh.
Yeah.
So, but during war days, when you're guarding something, you had to have your clip in the weapon and ready to shoot or protect yourself, etc. I worked the main gate at one time, and you sure had to have your clip in there, and I had control over the generals that were coming in, basically.
Oh, nice.
I had to make sure they were right generals coming in and going out. So at 18, I had a loaded .45 at my hip and ready to protect everybody.
Wow.
Okay, we had 5 months of that. Some of the air bases that were being refurbished or allowing people to come to that air bases and start your main duty that you were trained to do. construction surveying. So I got sent to Spokane in October of 1952, 73 years ago, by the way.
Wow.
So what was my duties at Spokane? Well, we have to rebuild the air base because there's a secret project coming up, Project 2150, which I learned later was the entry of the first B-52s, 1952. The first one was flown by Tex Johnson in 1952 from the construction site in Seattle to an air base called Larson Air Force Base in Moses Lake, Washington, which is halfway between Seattle and Spokane. The idea was that take it off the ground and see if it can fly and land and turn around and take off and land in Seattle. So Tex Johnson was able to do that, and he said, yeah, well, you got a worthwhile airplane here, let's build some.
Oh, and what a great airplane, yeah.
So Tex Johnson was assigned to come over to Spokane in 1954 to do all the testing because Seattle didn't have enough runway to do a high-speed test on the braking systems. At Fairchild, we had the B-36 airplanes like you see here, the 6 burning and 6 turning rather, and 4 burning. This was featured in a movie called Strategic Air Command, featuring Jimmy Stewart as a pilot. And he was an actual pilot in the Air Force, so we had the B-36s, which had ample runway for the brake testing for an empty B-52, but they weren't going to be empty for long. They're going to be carrying nuclear bombs at some time, so we had to make sure they had enough runway after the end of the B-36 runway. So part of my job was to go out and help extend the runway at Fairchild Air Force Base for another 1,500 feet or so, to make sure that this thing could stop, fully loaded with ammo and fuel, and so on and so on. So that was the primary duty at Fairchild, along with redoing all the infrastructure, rebuilding that, because they were going to bring 1,200 or so employees from Seattle, Boeing, to facilitate all the new testing on the new B-52s that were coming in after production in Seattle in 1955. So between 54 and 55, we had to do a lot of construction. What you see on my placard here, or my poster. So from day one, Tex Johnson brought it in over Spokane and fly it in like a fighter pilot to make sure the airframe was airworthy. He did a great job because these things are flying after 73 years and expected to go another 27 to be the first 100-year military service aircraft in the history of the world, I guess. And by God, they're going to do it because they retrofitting with new Rolls-Royce jet engines, put another paint job and cover the warts and the dents, and make it, cut out the inside, just cut the inside and put all the new AI stuff in there now. So that's the history of the testing over at Spokane. Now, along with that, we were supposed to build a compass rose. A compass rose is a giant circle in the ground where they put an aircraft on it, and they have the compass headings painted out along the circle. They put an aircraft in it and calibrate the magnetic compass in the aircraft. I was assigned with a Corps of Engineer personnel to go out and do this surveying on this supposed compass circle outside of the area, and stake out every 25 foot, put a 25-foot grid, and the guy will come out with a magnetometer, or whatever they call those things, and get check out to get the readings to see how much interference, etc., was in the ground. And they found out there's not a suitable place for a compass rose for the B-52 at Fairchild. There was too many mineral deposits. It's listed on the board there. So they took the B-52, the YB-52, over to Larson, where it landed first and did all the extra testing after that. During that time, we were rebuilding the airbase to facilitate the entry of the new B-52s in 1955. So the board tells my story. I was a surveyor and assigned to the base engineer. All air bases and military bases are like miniature cities. I got infrastructure, sewage disposal, heat plants, steam plants, and other infrastructure that has to be maintained. So somebody has to do it. So ergo, our group was called the Surveying, the 814th Surveying and Inspection Organization. So at my time, I was a city inspector, building inspector, sort of crawling around railroad trusses that were being rebuilt, making sure they had enough lag bolts holding the thing together, checking out the primary clarifiers, the secondary clarifiers on the sewage plant, because they had to be rebuilt to accommodate another 2,000, 3,000 people that were coming. My job was to go off base and inspect the dispersion field where they're putting in perforated pipes every 8-foot lengths. And the perforations were all over the pipe, but the bottom was for the water to go through. But they had to make sure that the tops were covered with tar paper, so no silt and stuff, rocks would get inside and mess up the flow of the dispersion.
Sure.
So I was out there. Actually, I preface this with, I had to learn how to drive a pickup truck so I could go off base and do all this. So I got my driver's license, going around the air base. That's another story in itself. I was told to go to the motor pool, check out a pickup truck, go to the mess hall, get your box lunch, and go off base and do your inspection. So that was a real joy to do that. 19 years old, okay. My own pickup, my own box lunch, and inspect the dispersion field and the railroad trestle, etc. So anyway, that was part of it. In the meantime, we were rebuilding the Wary housing, which was the housing for dependents, etc. All these had wood. It was a raised floor. And entries were through wood steps. And from World War II to the Korean War era, all these were dry rotting and etc. So we had to replace around 200 wood steps to precast concrete steps that had to be set to grade to match the floor. So so that was another job. That took a while to do that. When it wasn't snowing, we did the field work when it wasn't snowing. My first experience when I entered Fairchild was a report to the stock room and get my cold weather gear. So, why? Well, we're going to put you on snow removal. So I learned how to operate a snow blower mobile. It's a two-person operation. You had a pilot and a co-pilot, they call themselves. The pilot's job was to start the engine, get it going, and go straight 12,000 feet.
Okay.
Along the edge of the runway after the snow plows would make a windrow to get enough room for a B-29 or whatever to take off. So that job required to be on duty 12 on and 12 off. No matter where you were, if you were in town, they would call all snow removal personnel, report back to base, snow removal was on. So we learned how to drive a snowblower machine, keep it going for 12,000 feet. But every 3 hours we'd take a break and go in the hangar and get some god-awful coffee that would keep you awake for another 12 hours and go back on duty. Then you would switch places. You become the co-pilot, and so on and so on. The co-pilot operated the boom to get the snow out of the way. Of course, all the international airports have the same thing going now, but
Sure.
you can see that in operation when it's snowing, but it doesn't snow in California, so you probably won't see it here.
Not much.
But anyway, that was 12 on and 12 off during the snow removal, snow period from probably October to May.
Yeah. Well, that's an amazing career, sir. I'm really impressed with what you did, you know, and I thank you so much for your service.
Well, thank you
very much.
I enjoyed every second of it.
I can tell, yeah. It's an amazing career.
It gave me a lifelong career. I got discharged in 1956 because I had 4 years experience. The Federal Highway Act was being signed by Eisenhower. He said we're going to build freeways, so I joined the California Highway Department. I worked 31 years building not straight freeways.
Right.
You build a freeway, it's the same as a runway, only with a few curves and whatever.
Right, right.
So I spent
that's
31
amazing.
years doing that, and that was my career. So
Well, that's great. I really appreciate your time today, sir. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, Chuck. It's been a pleasure.
okay,
talking
well,
with
thank you,
And-
Roy.
and
It's
I-
been a pleasure.
I appreciate your time very much. I'll sneak a handshake in there, sir. And I'll make sure you get a chance to see this video too, okay?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I
Thanks
hope
for
I
your
talked
time.
loud enough.
Oh, you did great.